Welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. Join Janet and her friends as they gather at the intersection of consciousness and self-experience, what being consciousness in human form is all about. Access heart-centered awareness with them and feel the difference in the moment that will last a lifetime.
Hello, and welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. I'm your host, Janet Barrett. Each episode, I invite you to join me and a friend in conversations about being, the intersections of consciousness and self. Our topic and my friend's individual and unique senses of being expand for each of us in our collective state of awareness that we call consciousness. Take a moment now to sit back or lie down and relax, or just allow that part of you that is listening as you do other things to breathe. Give it permission to work for you while you are not paying attention. Trust. Each topic is opening field awareness for all of us about the infinite ways we demonstrate being human, being in form, having a sense of self, and what is within each of us at our core that has no form. I'm calling it essence in this conversation today. It is our individual sense of wonder in being part of consciousness and all that includes. It is there for each of us. Notice your deepening breath. Consciousness has no bias, no sense of judgment about what is and isn't, and time and space are malleable. We access this state every episode and invite you to join us, where shift can actively happen in our patterns of what we consider to be our lives. Each episode builds on the one before, enriching and deepening our connection to what I call heart-centered awareness, the field of unified consciousness. All the elements presented resonate differently for each of us. Language is not limited to or to define, but to appreciate how we are all expressing the same thing through different references. Enjoy them for what they are at heart, and you will find yourself carried along. The conversation that my friend Mmtheo and I share holds enough information for 2 episodes, so that is what I have created. It was challenging to locate a stopping point. We began in episode 9, and our conversation concludes here in episode 10. Still breathing. Place your hand over your heart and feel the connection between the breath and the beat. 2 different actions taking place at the same time. And then notice what you think about that. A 3rd action. Notice how you feel. Notice how you feel about what you think. You can notice all the different ways that we can sense being alive. Just let whatever that is coming to mind, our wonderful minds, our hardworking minds, to relax and enjoy the next minutes we have together. Feel the state shift into the sacredness, the stillness, the peace, whatever and however you notice being free of you for just a bit. Notice the resistance you may have been holding and let it be. The you you think you are, will be different when we are done. Still breathing, still beating, being present. The hand over your heart, where is it now? Today's episode 10 is the wholeness in our wholes, part 2. Episode 9 was about the holes in our wholeness. What role does illness play in our expressions as spiritual creatures in human form? Each of our body represents wholeness in being. Illness can take form and register in our mental, emotional, and our physical realms, creating a sense of holes in our wholeness. My friend Dr. Mmtheo Motsisi holds degrees in Indigenous and Chinese healing and appreciates Western medicine with its different references. She joins me in just a moment as we continue our conversation about our spirits expressing in the human form and how to listen to what is being said through our bodies. Be sure to listen to Mmtheo's wonderful explanation about being cured or healed. Simple words that create clarity.
Let's go back a little bit on conventional medicine. In conventional medicine, where you'll be, like you've just said, you prescribe medicine and all that, it's just you taking that. The beliefs, the attitudes, and the consciousness, it's irrelevant. But in holistic medicine, any form of holistic medicine, there'll be a review of attitudes. Your belief will be reviewed, and if there's any pattern with that neck pain that you brought up this evening, when you're feeling neck pain, neck is around the throat chakra, where we're talking about truth. You could be feeling that because you constricted, you rejecting something, and at a energetical level, electromagnetic level, that's the vibration that you're picking up. Remember that the body is made up of nerves and muscles. When that energy taps into the body, it's going to go to the brain. The brain will interpret the message, and it will send to the nerves, and the nerves will send to the muscle that tighten up, constrict yourself. You start feeling spasm on your neck. Then you address the symptoms, because it's the neck that's irritating you with its spasm and pain, but you haven't dealt with the root cause at energy level. When you come to see a practitioner who practices holistic medicine, fine, they'll do massage, they'll release the spasm, but that's not the end of the road.
Right.
Then we'll have to pick up energy level. What's the root cause? And that will come up because you'll feel the imbalance at an energy level, the input that you're getting, because we're all interconnected. I can read into your field. You can read into my field. So that will be picked out. And for the person to be healed, that imbalance at an energy level will need to be released. If it's negative, then it needs to be released. And when it's released, the blockage at an energy level, the chi, the energy that moves in the body, in the meridians, will move smoothly. And when it moves smoothly, it's going to impact the blood flow. It's going to impact the transmission of neurotransmitters in the nerve cells. It's going to be sending positive messages to the brain. The brain will release hormones that makes you feel good. And you heal yourself, or you are healed. And if you don't know, you'll probably think the practitioner healed me. Yes, in a way. It was through participation, mutual participation of the two teams that we brought that healing. It's not a one-man show, holistic approach.
I think what you're, certainly what I've known, because I've had a very challenging physical existence here. So I have had a lifetime of so many different things that have been my, not at the time delight, but my delight in hindsight of experiencing as humanity does, is that I came to realize after a while, because I didn't really fit Western medicine, and other kinds of medicines were challenged by me also, and so that was just my nature to be challenging, which is what I am. That
no wonder we click. No wonder we are in sync.
Is that that I realized that I pay doctors to help me. I don't buy into that they're God. And please, whatever medical profession is out there, professional listening, this is nothing personal, because I don't know you in the sense that I've had to have you in front of me. Is that there is this co-creation we always do. When I look at things in a bigger terms, and I look at someone and I go, how can you help me? They are not them in that moment. What they are is a co-creator. And we're coming together in experiencing what I'm bringing them, right? And what they're bringing me. And I realized early on that there are those that will do that with me, and there are those that just go, what is that? And then there are those who go, yes, we are here to work together on this. It makes it easier to pay them. It makes it easier to respect them. It makes it easier for me to allow whatever knowledge they have. Because as you so wonderfully described, all the processes that take place in order for that pain in the neck to be there or not be there, right? That's not my area of interest. I just know I have a pain in the neck, and I'm going to hire you to help me get rid of it. And if you can give me a pill, that's quick and easy in my society, and that works for me. That solves the problem. And what you're addressing is where the problem comes back, because it didn't do anything except address a symptom, an outcome, without removing what was causing the issue, which is what you're describing. And so when you look at it in the totality, I don't have to know all that. I just have to be aware that all that is there. The better off, I believe I'm better off for knowing that in my particular instance. Now, the next person, take a pill, it goes away, they never have a problem. Another person, they've never been to a doctor. You know, we all have different frameworks of how we're interacting with others and with ourselves. It's always about ourselves. And so where we serve in that, right, if we appreciate how we're part of the collective and how we're influenced, I certainly appreciate anymore how if I do something in being me, it affects other people, because that's my reality state that I'm in. So I notice where that comes back and how it comes back and the quality of that ripple effect. Most people aren't going to be doing that. They're going to be busy doing something else. And I make no judgments about that, because we're all here as we are choosing to be, right? So you're talking about medicine being much more inclusive. And I even in the language that keeps rearing its head, we use terms, Western medicine, and maybe indigenous also, is preventative medicine, alternative medicine. We have all these different terms about medicine and what does medicine mean. And once again, how much of it is setting up that there's something wrong, right? It's coming out of the basic premise that there's something wrong. You have a symptom, you have a pain in the neck, something's wrong. We get stuck in that, and we forget that that is just an expression of something going on. It's not about the pain in the neck. It is about the systems that are engaging that got stuck there. Mm-hmm. And there is, in the sense, when you come from a place of wholeness, that's the difference between whether you're focusing through the holes, you know, like Swiss cheese, and the holes are just lovely, and you can tell me about each of those holes that you are, where I look at the totality and see how the holes are interwoven and how they make that cheese really distinct and quite nice if you like Swiss cheese. There's the framework that we set all this up into, you know, that I think is so important. It's all about mindsets. It's about the role medicine plays, why we've made it medicine, and how the morphic field of that is, and then how you have these wonderful cultures that say, take a drop of cod liver oil, you'll never have a problem the day in your life. Yes, that is a medicine, but it's not. It is something that's a part of the wholeness of respecting the systems at play that can maybe use support now and then. Right? I think it's just how we frame all this whole conversation about being uncomfortable, which I think is what all this is. It's about being uncomfortable and being in a body. That's what it comes down to.
Yes, Janet. Also, we need to should I say, be understanding and broad-minded in a sense that in our uniqueness and in our own experiences, we respond differently, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. But also, it depends on the mindset also. Mm-hmm. Which part is dominating? Mm-hmm. If it's 95%, which is the subconscious, which is embedded with a lot of programs, mm-hmm. the behavior is going to determine the route that one travels. Mm-hmm. If it's the consciousness, which is most of the time, most people, it's 5%. The voice is silenced. The creator within is already silenced. So when, sometimes I sit and I say, I don't want to play the blame or blame mentality. Right. And it's the programs in place. But the reality is, the first 7 years, already you programmed. And throughout your life, you programmed. Mm-hmm. So the system in place, it's not friendly to allow the consciousness to operate in a manner that's going to be the driving force. So no wonder we battle. No wonder we face challenges. And those of us who have awakened to that state, we need to be the voice and make others aware. Because the fact that we have awakened, it's by grace. Or maybe, I don't know, whatever helped us to awaken, we must also help others to awaken. Because it's not that they are failing to be creators of their own lives. No, the system disempowers them to be able to do that.
I think so. This is where my training and awareness comes in. That those are all sets of reality, and you use the word reality, right? And that this is what day to day has become and what it is, and that for me, that as I embrace myself as essence and as spirit, and this is where the language gets tricky because of what is at play in that. When I can be within myself and hear my own truth and work from my intuitiveness, I'm going to call that essence, and I call that consciousness. And then I have self. I have the person that makes the day-to-day choices, which is really the interpreter of that. And that at any point in that, in being present with myself as consciousness, where I'm engaging in the state of where the rules can change and soften, and that's what this show is about, is holding that space for people, is that in the moment, whatever those programmings are from wherever they've come from, can soften. They may be serving as guidelines the rest of one's life, right? And there is spectrum in all of it. And in appreciating that, how it's okay to have what one sees and what one feels, and how is that useful? How is this okay? I'm asking that from my place of essence, not from self. That's setting those things in play, because I realize that as essence, I make distinctions, and I've decided somewhere along the line of what do I want to experience in this life, right? And so it's the interaction between, and those are the wholes, HOLE, and what happens when I explore that whole. What happens if I don't have any judgment about it, this is the challenge for self, because that's what we do. And that's the contrast of how to be present to information and just let it be information and not be driving us into some experience. That is the delight of life. And if I look at it from the whale perspective, which we've had Anne on the show, and the immensity of the blue whale and its heart the size of a Volkswagen Beetle bug, you realize that there is no story. because what you're describing is our stories, our backstories. And there's just about being. And they just see us at our essence when you interact with whales and dolphins. That's the level they work at. And when you're present to that, you can feel those considerations that are setting up for certain outcomes soften. I can see the patterns start to shift. And I can enjoy my creativity again, where it's, well, I created this and let me create something different. So it's a different way of looking at that information for me, Motsisi, that you, Mmtheo, there's how that shows up and how it can soften, because it is possible if you're in that reality with potential as real. And that's what I look to share with people, is that yes, and this is the way our bodies respond to all this information that's flying around us, all our perceptions and discernments and how we can experience it. And in the one sense, it bites us in our ass. And at the same time, it's great knowledge, right? And you look at people who deal with traumatic diseases and how they deal with it, what comes out of that. And this is why I said, what is our judgment about what life is and the quality of life? And we can hear so much bias in being a patient and being a doctor and different perspectives. It's all about experiencing health and wholeness, right? We do it from different perspectives. Each is as creative as the other guy. And I've had this bias with people who look at me and go, well, you have all these problems. How can you do what you do? And I said, I do that with those, right? They create the format for me to engage life. And if you don't judge it, and I can go, yeah, they're kind of a pain in the ass at times to have to deal with this kind of stuff. And that's the human, that's the self that says that essence is, and it will smile. It smiles at me, and I have an experience of compassion within myself. And I'm less judgmental of myself in embracing my awakened place, right, that serves us in there.
That was powerful.
That was what?
Actually, that was powerful. I've been listening to you, and you actually made me reflect, because I had let me speak from my heart also. Uh-huh. I had cancer, cervix cancer, and during that period when I had cancer, it was after my divorce. And when I look back now, I'm actually grateful I went through the experience, because it actually created a shift in my life, and it made
woke you up in a way, didn't it? Yeah.
It was a slap, but it woke me up, and I appreciate and I honor that experience. That period of cancer, I had to go Western medicine, get treatment and all that. And actually, I was developing other complications and whatever. And also doing my indigenous healing practices to a certain extent. And what was revealed to me, I want to share this, because I want to say, when you bring everything on the table and you bring yourself, it works. But when you take yourself outside and you bring everything, the ingredients, but you want to make a cake and you are the cake, but the cake you want to put it outside, it's not going to work. So I was taking Western medicine for a long time, and it was working. It was on and off, and I was recovering, and then whatever. And I went through a period that I'll call dark night of the soul. And during that period of dark night of the soul, I realized that because of the divorce, I actually thought my happiness was dependent on someone else. Mm-hmm. And when I went to divorce, I blamed myself. That's judgment. Mm-hmm. I could not forgive myself that now I had to raise a child as a single parent. And I developed self-hatred. All those that are negative, and they were feeding into my system, and they were toxins into my cells and everything. And I became sick. And the process of healing, and that's the other thing that actually took me to China. I ended up going to China and spending time there and studying and doing other things. But to cut the story short, what actually helped me to heal was cultivating self-love, was forgiving myself, was awakening to the realization that I do not need an external thing to make me happy. It's all within me. You cannot give to the world that which you don't have. I had to love myself in order to love another person or another being. I had to forgive self in order to forgive another being. I had to cultivate seeds that nurture my soul. I had to look within me and realize that in order for this body to be resurrected on its deathbed, I have to infuse it with love. And love is divine power. It's the bridge. Without love, we don't exist. But you cannot give love to anything, whether it's a plant, anything around you, if you don't have that love. That experience made me to cultivate self-love. That experience made me to realize that before I can even think of forgiving anybody else whom I think deserve to be forgiven or whatever, I must forgive myself. If I want to get change, it must start with me. I'm a healer. I cannot heal unless I can heal self. I cannot be a conduit of transmitting the healing power. I take myself as a conduit. I cannot be a conduit to transmit that healing power to another being. If that it's not circulating within me, if there are blockages, I know with me. If I'm not okay within me, I'm not able to touch patients because I can feel that things are not flowing. So it all starts with us. But sometimes we have to go through challenges, and we must be grateful because it's like you are being. If you had a short-sighted view of things, your view it's widened. You see things differently. Every challenge brings with it a lesson. It depends on how you interpret the lesson. It can be positive and benefit all beings. It can be negative and destroy you if you allow it.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. There's nothing, our truth speaks, right? And it's always going to be, do you have to have the exact same footsteps? Have you walked exactly in those footsteps? Or have you walked with those footsteps? I think when we address ourselves as self-healing, right? And being the ability to regenerate ourselves and to take where we can feel those holes in our Swiss cheese and fill them and realize that, okay, this is all over the place. Let me see if I can, where did that go? What is it here?
Can I say this?
Sure, go ahead.
On healing, going back to my story, there's a difference of to cure a person and to heal.
Mm-hmm. Explain that difference. Yeah. Yeah.
When we curing, it's a passive process. Healing is an active process.
Okay, say that again. I didn't hear you clearly.
The process of curing, it's more of a passive. Yeah, to cure. Yes, it's a passive process. It's where successful control is brought from external to actually stop progression of a disease or illness.
Okay. So outside is being brought in to do something. Okay.
Yes, because the person or whoever considers themselves as a victim being attacked by a virus or whatever. Mm-hmm. So now the virus is inside. You must get the soldiers outside to actually remove the virus or whatever.
Got it. Okay.
Then while you are in that process of treatment, a passive process, the whole thing is arrested and then it's brought into slowed down. And then eventually it's like it's dormant, it's non-existent. But the chances of that reoccurring, they are very high. Why? Because like a tree, a branch of a tree has a problem. You forget that the tree has roots. The tree also sucks water from earth, whatever. It's nourishment from earth. You look at this branch, which has a problem, and you think, if I could just remove this branch, I've sorted out the problem. Fine. You cut the branch, you throw it. Oh God, I don't even like the word throw it.
I can feel that. Yeah, the discarding. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's painful because I don't do that. Yes. Yeah. Whatever. And then you carry on watering this lemon tree, and then eventually you realize another branch has a problem. You carry on cutting, pruning, and then eventually now you have nothing left except the stem and the roots. And then you realize that the problem has actually gone so deep that now it's at the roots level. Mm-hmm. So you haven't arrested the problem. You've actually delayed the death or whatever that was supposed to happen. So that's when you cure, you arrest the process. You arrest it. And then hoping that it doesn't reoccur. I'll go back to my story of cancer. I think it was 2001, early 2000 and something, 2001, 2003. I haven't had a rebound of cancer. Why am I saying that? It's because not only did I go through the process of being cured, I also went through the process of being healed. And now what it means by saying healing. What does healing actually mean? Healing does not always mean recovery of the physical body from the illness only. Mm-hmm. It means that one spirit has released the long-held fears and negative thoughts that I elaborated on of self-hatred, judgment, judging myself, self-hatred, and all that. I had released that. And then I had cultivated positive thoughts. And in cultivating positive thoughts, I activated a positive energy, a vibration in me that could actually work deep into cellular level and replicate new cells that will actually replace the cancerous that were actually destructive in my body. Mm-hmm. So healing is multidimensional in a sense that it's physical, it's spiritual, it's psychological. Curing, my tree again. The stem is diseased, you cut the stem, you throw it. Another branch, just like that. So there's a difference. We need to understand. English is not my first language, but I love the English language. I always say Yeah, they play with words. They've got a lot of words to play around with. There's a word for this, there's a word that, you people have got a way to play around with. Everything has its ways. So sometimes when I want to say something from my indigenous perspective, I have to think, what's the word that could actually be close to what I'm trying to say? And then I realized that because you have so many words, you've created so many words because you feel the need to explain and define and describe everything. Not everything can be described.
Okay, now the Japanese and Chinese, they have lots of ways to say the same word. So it's not just English. So what you're describing so well is how we can hold ourselves in our wholeness. That in health, and this is where you get more specific, the idea of curing and the idea of healing, and the difference between the two. And I can see how eloquent in your explanation of that I know people that look to be cured, and I know people that look to heal. And I'm very aware in this, after that moment there, of the difference, and how a lot of us want to be cured in life. We don't care what it is. We don't want to know anything. We don't hold ourselves responsible to. We take ourselves out of the equation as much as we can, in whether it's denial or resistance or whatever, or just neglect, and say, you fix me. I want to take that pill. I want to buy that purse. If I eat that, I'm going to feel better, right? And that's a cure. It's an outside thing that works for just a little bit, and it serves just this. When you look at from a place of healing, and you go, if I buy that purse, I'll feel good. But why do I need to feel good? And it takes you to that deeper resonance in you, and you begin to appreciate how your compulsiveness is active, because that's what you've got associated with feeling good, because elsewhere in your life you don't have that sense, right? And this is how everything interacts with everything else. And so whether you cut the limb off, which I love, that was so hard to just cut it off. Pruning. Now, see, I got the word pruning, but when you said cut it and throw it away, I was like, okay. Well, so this is the power of language, right? And what's encoded in that for each of us. You're reformatting how we've organized ourselves. And I'm right in this moment, I can feel that so strongly in this conversation that we're having, Mmtheo, and thank you, that how we express ourselves is so much based on assumption. How we think we are is so much a presumption. And how much we don't know, pardon my French, much. There were other words there, but I won't clutter. We don't know zip, okay? We presume, we assume, we follow blindly somebody else's knowledge, right? And this is the challenge of knowing and knowledge. This is the difference. And when knowing comes from within, you have no validation, verification process you need to go through. You just know. It has that clear cognizant resonance to it, as opposed to, I went to school and learned this. And what you went to school and learned this was based on a whole bunch of someone else's observances of something that was coming out of a particular mindset who designed a formula. And when we go to school, we're learning formulas, whether they're right or whether they're wrong, or whether there's something mitigating and unclear in the whole process, right? And we accept those as truths. We accept those as, yes, those are facts. And we've made them a fact, when they're just really fiction and subject to interpretation everywhere along the way. So everyone, just notice. This is just so delightful. It's like things will come up and then they just disappear as I'm sitting here noticing for us and with us of where energy takes us, where the field of potential, which is what consciousness is, pretty much 99% dark energy or whatever you want to call it, is potential. And then there's energy. There are the things. So we're a blend of these things. So we are challenging a huge, powerful morphic field. Remembering a morphic field is a collective unconscious and consciousness thing that urban myth, and non-urban myth about beliefs. It's about beliefs, and that's inclusive of everything. And so something that is just hanging on an edge of awareness and doesn't really, you never notice it, all of a sudden it's right in your face and it's your reality, and now you believe it and you are it. And that's a morphic field. So we don't track how aware we are in and out of this. Medicine, the field of wholeness, the field of wellness. Okay, so we use the term wellness. When it gets into medicine, you're got one foot in the grave, basically, right? You're already, okay, there's something wrong. And when it's not that there's something wrong, it's wrong. There's something really bad. And so it's taking itself, it's feeling the weight of that morphic field that we hold about medicine into a realm where it becomes its own thing. And so one lesson I have learned is how, and I deal with it all the time, is how to be in something but not be it. How to engage the information, because that's a field of information. How to engage it and not be it. Not let myself be tagged that that's now my reality. It is only my reality for the time I need it to be my reality, because to be me means that I'm intersecting and holding the center point of all these different fields of reference, all these different reality states. So when we want to notice, we so blindly, the majority of us, I'm going to just say that, because you see how culture shows up and what shows up in culture and how it's moving and not moving, is that all that is kind of lost in the busyness of the day, whether it's about survival or whether it's about your business survival. It's all about survival and accomplishment and success, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We lose this connection to oneself that is always present. And that's what this show is about, is bringing us back to this place, back to where information is present, and also oneself is present. And then there's the information. So let's see, we got just a few minutes here because we've got 2 great episodes we're going to do with this. So what is it? I think we've kind of really covered a lot of ground. I had no idea where we'd go with this. So is there something you'd like to leave people with? Some awareness there?
When we started, I said we are of water and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And as we are about to close this part,
mm-hmm.
I'm still saying the same thing. We are of water and spirit. and I want to say this.
Uh-huh.
It touches me deeply. I might get emotional.
Mm-hmm.
We are of water and spirit. It's not it's not something to be taken very light, because everything that came into being,
mm-hmm.
water was the primary element, and water still is. Water cleanses, water purifies, water nurtures us. And to awaken is to be mindful of each drop of water that is released by the sea, changes into rain and snow.
Mm-hmm.
And as it conceals itself in the deep recesses of the earth, it eventually overflows and returns to the sea, not in a straight line, but on a path of the least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
When it finally reaches this water, this precious water that we are made of, this water that makes Mother Earth, this water that cleanses, this water that purifies, this water that nurtures us. When it finally reaches its destination, sweet and purified by the journey, it unites with the source. And the source is the creator. And the creator is us. And the creator is Mother Earth. And the creator is the universe. They are one again, not one of the many, but one of the same self. In closure, may we remember because it's worth remembering that we are of water and spirit beyond anything else.
Whoa. We are water and we are spirit, and I can just feel that drop of water and the drop of water and the relating between those two drops of water. Thank you so very much, Mmtheo. This has been very healing, I might say. Been very certainly fluid, and also just the essence of being. Thank you so very much, sweetie.
Thank you for the healing work we did yesterday. I think the waterfall triggered everything. Thank you very much.
Okay. Talk to you later, dear. Bye-bye. In our Roots and Ageless sections, I am including different references that Mmtheo has provided for us. I'm using a bit of each for episode 9 and this episode 10, so you have a little different feel to each episode. For our Roots, Mmtheo has included a paper she wrote towards the doctoral degree in theology, spirituality, and holistic health from Hollis University. She not only elaborates on the topic of water and spirit, she gives a great history of indigenous Eastern and Western traditions in healing. And to hear the timeless and ageless, for our ageless element, Mmtheo heard during our conversation the following thoughts to offer from Source, or in her words, impressed in my spirit. Life, void of spirit, creator, architect, broadcaster, is empty because we are triune beings made of spirit, mind, and body. Therefore, how can we live a fulfilling, harmonious life without knowing what the spirit is doing and attempting to communicate with us? And this, power to create and birth change lies within us, awaiting to be reclaimed. Powerlessness creates an illusion that one must acquire power from an external source or environment. Once you surrender your power to anything external, you become its slave. My blog this week is all quotes about the wisdom we have gained about wholeness and the whole self finds in experiencing life. They are courtesy of AZ Quotes, and you can find the link at my episode 10 podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. Here are a variety of voices that speak to our wholeness. Enjoy. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. Parker J. Palmer. To be in harmony with the wholeness of things is not to have anxiety over imperfections. Dogen. You don't need another person, place, or thing to make you whole. God already did that. Your job is to know it. Maya Angelou. The real reason why human life can be so utterly exasperating and frustrating is not because there are facts called death, pain, fear, or hunger. The madness of the thing is that when such facts are present, we circle, buzz, writhe, and whirl, trying to get out of the eye of the experience. Sanity, wholeness, and integration lie in the realization that we are not divided, that man and his present experience are one, and that no separate I or mind can be found. Life is a dance, and when you are dancing, you are not intent on getting somewhere. The meaning and purpose of dancing is the dance. Alan Watts. You are a whole and also part of larger and larger circles of wholeness you may not even know about. You are never alone, and you already belong. You belong to humanity. You belong to life. You belong to this moment, this breath. Jon Kabat-Zinn. Life is a great tapestry. The individual is only an insignificant thread in an immense and miraculous pattern. Albert Einstein. The journey to wholeness requires that you look honestly, openly, and with courage into yourself, into the dynamics that lie behind what you feel, what you perceive, what you value, and how you act. It is a journey through our defenses and beyond, so that you can experience consciously the nature of your personality, face what it has produced in your life, and choose to change it. Words lead to deeds. They prepare the soul, make it ready, and move it to tenderness. Gary Zukav. Listening is the oldest and perhaps most powerful tool of healing. It is often through the quality of our listening and not the wisdom of our words that we are able to effect the most profound changes in the people around us. When we listen, we offer with our attention an opportunity for wholeness. Our listening creates sanctuary for the homeless parts within the other person, that which has been denied, unloved, devalued by themselves and others, that which is hidden. Rachel Naomi Remen. When we seek for connection, we restore the world to wholeness. Our seemingly separate lives become meaningful as we discover how truly necessary we are to each other. Margaret J. Whitley. Whole people see and create wholeness wherever they go. Split people see and create splits in everything and everybody. Richard Rohr. The mandala is an archetypal image whose occurrence is attested throughout the ages. It signifies the wholeness of the self. The circular image represents the wholeness of the psychic ground, or to put it in mythic terms, the divinity incarnate in man. Carl Jung. For more information about Mmtheo, her complete bio, and all the things she offers in her practice, you can reach her at her website, www.mmtheomotsisi.com. Her book, Odyssey of a Healer, is available on Amazon. For the correct spelling of Mmtheo's name and links, you can read them at the episode 10 of Journeys into Enlightenment podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. Thank you for joining me here at Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. You can continue to join us every 2 weeks here on the CTR network. You can post any questions or comments there, or email me directly at janetandbeyondpodcast.com. For more information about all the elements that make up each episode, they are on my podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. You will also find information there about my other podcast show, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and about my work with clients. You can sign up to receive my regular weekly blog, Life in the Beyond, Journeys into Enlightenment. You will also find out about the Fuzzy Photons playground groups I offer. Live interactive space via Zoom video conferencing on your favorite device on Thursdays. If you're looking for other regular opportunities to sit in heart-centered awareness with others and explore life, you will find it here. You can follow each episode of this podcast series on my YouTube channel, Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Till the next time, feel the difference in this moment. It is real, and it can last a lifetime.